We have all encountered those intensely frustrating individuals who look completely fundamentally incapable of admitting even the most minor personal mistake. The exact microsecond you offer them any form of gentle, constructive feedback, they instantly and aggressively switch into an unyielding defensive mode. They will masterfully twist your honest, calm words, blame unpredictable outside circumstances, or start viciously counterattacking your own personal character. To the casual observer in the outside world, this rigid, stone-cold behavior looks like absolute arrogance, massive pride, or an untouchable ego. But modern behavioral psychology and cognitive science reveal a completely opposite reality. This loud defensiveness is a cry of extreme mental fragility. A person who completely and violently rejects external criticism is never operating from a solid position of deep, unshakable internal strength. Instead, they are desperately, frantically trying to protect a highly unstable self-image that is built entirely on incredibly thin, cracked glass. To truly understand the architecture of this unique mind, we must carefully examine the root concept of conditional and deeply insecure self-worth. Psychologically healthy individuals possess the rare ability to cleanly separate their immediate, real-world actions from their core identity as a valuable human being. They can calmly think to themselves, "I made a poor, careless mistake at work today, but that doesn't mean I am a fundamentally bad person." But for a highly defensive, fragile individual, this vital, healthy psychological separation simply does not exist anywhere inside their neural mapping. To their survival-driven brain, any mild criticism of their daily work is instantly perceived as a total, devastating attack on their whole existence. If they dare to admit they made even a single tiny error, their entire internal, carefully managed illusion of perfection instantly shatters into pieces. This damaging psychological phenomenon usually traces all the way back to early childhood environments where minor mistakes were treated as unforgivable, deadly sins. They grew up learning the hard lesson that they were only completely safe and loved when they performed flawlessly for the authority figures around them. The adult brain deeply remembers this painful, exhausting lesson and constructs a heavy, permanent fortress of total, uncompromising denial around the ego. In modern cognitive science, this extreme, immediate defensive reaction is directly linked to an overactive, deeply panicked, emotional survival brain. When you give them calm, well-meaning feedback, their hypervigilant amygdala registers your words as a literal, physical threat to their actual life. Their logical prefrontal cortex completely and instantly shuts down, making an objective, mature, and rational conversation absolutely impossible to hold with them. In that tense moment, they are no longer listening to your helpful advice. They are actively fighting for their psychological life in that room. To maintain their fragile internal peace at all costs, their mind immediately deploys a powerful, automated shield known as cognitive distortion. The defensive brain systematically filters incoming facts and completely rewrites history to make absolutely sure they remain completely innocent and blameless. They genuinely, wholeheartedly believe their own twisted, adjusted version of past events, successfully shielding themselves from any heavy trace of guilt. This total, tragic lack of self-awareness makes them completely blind to the trail of broken relationships and hurt feelings they leave behind them. Another major defensive weapon used with great frequency by these fragile individuals is the toxic, highly manipulative psychological concept of projection. Instead of processing and sitting with their own hidden, painful feelings of inadequacy, they instantly project those exact negative emotions onto you. They will loudly accuse you of being overly controlling, jealous, bitter, or mean, beautifully turning themselves into the ultimate innocent victim. This clever subconscious inversion allows them to walk away from the heavy conflict feeling completely morally superior and entirely vindicated. Behavioral scientists notice that this automated defensive habit completely blocks any real possibility of true personal growth, learning, and self-development. Because they can never open up to admit a flaw, they are tragically doomed to repeat the exact same painful life mistakes forever. They remain permanently, hopelessly trapped in the exhausting loop of blaming the cruel, unfair world for their total lack of personal progress. Consequently, their career advancement stalls, their closest friendships predictably fall apart, and their romantic connections remain superficial and highly tense. They spend their entire lives in an exhausting state of perpetual hypervigilance, constantly scanning every casual conversation for hidden insults or slights. This intense, never-ending paranoia drains massive amounts of their daily mental energy, leaving them profoundly, deeply isolated, emotionally exhausted, and lonely. They must always wear a heavy, flawless mask of absolute perfection, which completely prevents them from ever experiencing genuine human intimacy. True, deep connection requires the immense courage to be vulnerable, a luxury that their fragile glass ego simply cannot afford to risk. Yet, our modern, highly competitive social culture often accidentally praises and rewards this rigid, unyielding projection of loud, fake confidence. We see aggressive leaders and public figures who never apologize for anything, frequently confusing their stubborn, blind weakness with authentic strength and authority. But there is an absolutely massive, unbridgeable psychological difference between solid, unshakable confidence and this desperate, incredibly loud defensiveness. True, authentic confidence is always completely silent, deeply open to learning, and entirely comfortable with its own natural human limitations. It never feels the burning need to win every single argument, or desperately prove its total perfection to a room full of strangers. If you are forced to interact with someone who cannot handle the slightest criticism, you must thoroughly understand their internal psychological geometry. Trying to argue them into submission using raw logic, cold facts, or clear evidence is a completely useless, draining waste of your time. The more undeniable evidence of their mistake you present to them, the more aggressive and hostile their defensive shield will inevitably become. The only viable, healthy path for your own sanity is to entirely step away from their chaotic emotional stage and firmly protect your boundaries. Do not let their toxic, twisted projections alter your own solid sense of reality or make you doubt your ultimate truth as a person. Their loud, explosive anger is never actually about you or your actions. It is a direct reflection of their own agonizing internal war. On the flip side of this issue, we must also courageously examine our own personal, private relationship with receiving external feedback. It is completely natural and uncomfortable for any human being to hear that they have failed, messed up, or fallen short in some way. But learning to sit calmly with that specific raw discomfort is the absolute foundation of achieving high emotional intelligence and maturity. When someone offers you harsh or constructive criticism, train your mind to pause deeply before reacting with sudden anger or immediate self-justification. Look at the feedback with absolute objectivity. Carefully separate the useful gold of truth from the useless dirt of malice, and discard the rest. True psychological maturity and wisdom mean having the immense, rare courage to look directly into your own deep, dark personal shadows. It means realizing that making a bad mistake is just valuable life data to learn from, not a permanent definition of your character. By allowing yourself the grace to be wrong occasionally, you keep your mind flexible, open, healthy, and beautifully capable of true transformation. Your unhealed past design may have built a protective wall to survive, but you retain the ultimate power to replace it with healthy boundaries. I'm Leo, and I truly hope this short note helps you understand the complex, fragile architecture behind intense human defensiveness. Look far past the loud, aggressive smoke and mirrors, strive to see the fragile glass beneath the heavy armor, and guard your consciousness. Decode your own complex psyche, refuse the easy, comfortable traps of self-justification, think deeply about your path, and always stay grounded. Walk through this world with real intention, embrace your beautifully flawed human nature, and always, above all, protect your precious inner peace.